So you're thinking about moving to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and specifically Pawleys Island and Murrels Inlet, and you're interested in all the reasons why you should not move to this area. You know, you're having thoughts like, is this a total waste of my money? I'm just flushing my money down the drain. Is this place trashy? I'd never want to live here. I hate this place. I mean, you want to know all that gritty, ugly, nasty stuff. Well, guess what? You've come to the right place, because we're going to talk about crowding. We're going to talk about the limited educational opportunities and why those housing costs are so high. We're going to talk about all the reasons why you would not want to move to the Myrtle Beach market, and we're going to get after it right now. So don't move to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, specifically Pawleys Island and Murrels Inlet. Our number one reason so far is traffic. So let's just talk a little bit about the peak season time. You know, April through September in our market, it is peak season. That's when, you know, tons of people visit. Over 20 million people visit our market a year. I think last I just heard 22 million visited most recently. That's a lot of people. People are coming from all over the place just to see the attractions and to get to those beaches. So April through September does seem to be a little bit congested as far as traffic goes. John, you want to kind of walk us through the south end of the beach, kind of what traffic's like down in Murrels Inlet and Pawleys Island?
Sure. Unfortunately, we only have one road that runs north and south when you get into Murrels Inlet, and that's 17 Business, which means that all traffic that is heading from Charleston up to North Myrtle and through North Myrtle, even into Myrtle Beach and Murrels Inlet, is running through 4 lanes of traffic the whole time, which, as you can understand, would make things highly congested at peak seasons and peak hours. That includes not just your tourism traffic, but your regular commuters who are just trying to get to and from work, who are trying to get something to eat and get back home. So you can imagine those roads get very congested very quickly at peak hours of the day.
Yes, so think about that, guys, 4 lanes. Now, I'll say this, you know, our traffic is probably nothing compared to what you're experiencing in those big cities. So, you know, if you're from out of state, and if you're from New York, or let's say that you're coming from Miami, or, you know, just any of those larger cities, you know, Dallas, Texas, I'd even go so far to say, you know, you're probably not going to have traffic in any kind of regard, even remotely compared to the traffic that we experience here. Now, when we say traffic, you're talking 20 minutes, you're going to be stuck in rolling traffic, you know, on a 4-lane road. You know, nothing like sitting for an hour to go, you know, 5 minutes worth of traffic.
Of course not. No, I've heard stories of people in Atlanta sitting on the interstates there for hours at a time. No, you're not going to experience anything like that in Myrtle Beach, even down south into the Murrels Inlet area. But there is, like Brandon said, times where you will spend 20 to 30 minutes possibly waiting to just get to where you're going to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, and this, you know, someone might could think, you know, this could lean towards a little bit more dangerous time of the year, you know, April through September, when all those visitors are here and traffic's congested. That being said, what was that stat you were talking to me about earlier?
Unfortunately for us, in 2019, there was an article that was written that ranked US Highway 17 South as one of the most dangerous roads, if not the most dangerous road in South Carolina. Now, that is at peak times, and we want to make sure that we caveat that with peak times that it is dangerous. But if you watch what you're doing and you're paying attention and not on your phone, you're going to be A-okay.
Now, and guys, now, I'm in no way trying to say that, you know, the road is, you know, anytime you get into a vehicle, it can be dangerous. We all know that. At the same token, it is part of our lifestyle. Mm-hmm. It's part of our way of life. There are probably dangerous roads everywhere you are. You know, traffic gets congested. That kind of stuff happens. And, you know, we don't wish that on anybody. And yes, it is dangerous sometimes, you know, on any given road, especially 17 during those peak season times. But again, it's lifestyle. I mean, like, we use 17 to pretty much drive everywhere. I don't have any issues generally. Thank you, Jesus. And you know, I don't suspect that, you know, you'd have any kind of out of the norm experience on 17, right?
No. Again, as long as you're paying attention and doing what you're supposed to be doing as a driver, you're going to be perfectly fine. Other than dealing with all that headache of that traffic going on around you.
Yeah, wonderful. All right, so let's just chat a little bit about that peak season time, guys. 60% of North America can get to Myrtle Beach within a 1 day's drive. I'm going to say it one more time because it's a pretty whopping stat for us. 60% of North America can get here within a 1 day's drive. That's super, super huge for us. This is the second most visited place on the East Coast. I mean, we're having more visitors than Miami and Fort Lauderdale. So guys, we do get a lot of people that come to visit. You know, it is in no way, not busy during that April through September timeframe, which also makes it advantageous for you people that like to buy investment properties in our market. If you're looking to, to purchase an oceanfront condo or maybe do an Airbnb, our market might be ideal for you since we do have so many visitors that visit here, and tourism and hospitality is one of those main drivers of our success. Now, moving right along, let's get into that number 2 reason, limited job opportunities. John, kind of take it away for us.
Well, being a tourist town as we are, and as we have traditionally been, it means that most of our jobs around here are seasonal. The majority of them. That doesn't mean that all of them, and that we are seeing some change in that area as different manufacturing comes into this area and we begin to see new opportunities avail themselves. And if you're coming from an area with a manufacturing background or a college education, you're going to be just fine landing on your feet. What we would tell you, what I would advise you is that if you're coming to this area, come with something in place. Don't try to come and find a job when you get here. That's just a good principle for life. Always make sure you have a place to land. So I would challenge you, come down, visit, spend a week here, try and find a place that you can line up for work so that when you get here, you are secure. Because if you don't have that job opportunity, then you might not land where you want to land, which could cause you some issues in the future.
Yeah, and I would go so far to say is, we specialize in helping people relocate to our market. I help people just like you every day. I get calls and emails all the time, text messages from people just like you who are relocating from out of state. So we are familiar with that process. We can go so far. I have helped people look for jobs, specifically nurses. It seems to be, our medical is kind of blowing up here. We have a lot of retirees that are moving here. So our medical industry here is really, really blowing up. So I think I've helped at least 2 different nurses look for jobs here. So all in all, I can help you find and help you line up and go through some of that job search for you. Now, I do want to point out that, if you do have a college degree, if you are a skilled worker, or again, if you do have that background as far as manufacturing, then you're probably not going to have any issue at all. So if you're a retiree, baby boomers are retiring at a rate of over 10,000 per day. A recent stat I heard was, there are 30 million more people that are 55 plus today than back in 2005. That is a massive amount of people, guys. And, we're finding out that these retirees can be ideal for management jobs in our manufacturing industry.
Yeah, and when you look at our manufacturing industry as it begins to grow in this area, that is something that we need is skilled labor in management. Leadership is key to making anything work if you look at any sort of organization or corporation. And so good managers who are skilled with a skilled background, know what they're talking about and know what they're doing means a lot to setting up a workforce to succeed in the future.
So moving right along into our number 3 reason for why you wouldn't want to move to Myrtle Beach, specifically Pawleys Island and Murrels Inlet, the south end of the beach, is the high cost of housing.
One of the things that I've noticed over the years, when I was a young man, buying a house in the southern end of the county was not very expensive because land was plentiful, houses were few, and building was cheap. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case today, as we've seen. Building houses has gone through the roof. Construction costs has increased tremendously. But also the big thing, and I think this is the number 1 contributing factor, land has begun to dry up in the Murrels Inlet and Pawleys Island area. There's just not as many places to build anymore, which inevitably drives the cost up even more, which when you're constructing a house at a high cost means you're going to resell a house at a high cost.
Come on.
So one of the things, that's what we've noticed as we have seen our area grow and develop, is that housing is just going through the roof as far as price goes.
Yeah, so the south end of the beach is a very, very gorgeous and serene part of our area. I would say that your average home price over there is probably much higher. I don't have the stat in front of me, but it's much higher than your average price in Myrtle Beach, and probably even so in North Myrtle Beach. So the high cost of homes over there is definitely one of the reasons why you wouldn't want to move over there. However, I will say that the Pawleys Island area, it has some uncrowded beaches. So along with that high cost of a house, you do get some great pros. They also have some great shopping out that way. Not your big box stores, but your boutique stores. Again, those uncrowded beaches, I would imagine are a nice pull for anybody living in the south end of the beach.
100%. And when you're looking at those beaches and if you're able to go out there, find a parking spot easily, get on the beach quick, be able to get off of the beach quick and not have kids running all over the place on top of you, spilling drinks, everything going nuts, that is number one for being in Pawleys Island.
Yeah, and don't forget now, there are tons of golf courses over in the south end of the beach too, which people, I would imagine, if you're a golfer, you're going to be in golf heaven in the south end of the beach. So while it does have that high cost of, the house costs are a little bit higher, there are some great pros. So you don't want to move, I can't even almost say it. You don't want to move to Myrtle Beach because of hurricanes. I mean, you're going to die. Don't move here. It's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I take back all those words. Go ahead, take it away.
Well, a couple of years ago, I remember as a native here, I've seen tons of hurricanes, tons of bad storms. And one of the maps that DNR released was a flood map. And it really literally showed all of Horry County on the island that you're going to move to being completely covered in water. I thought we were going to have to build a boat and start loading animals on it. But luckily, that's not what happened. And that's good. So yes, hurricanes are bad and that happens. And there is flooding in certain areas. And I would challenge you, if you're going to buy a house in the south end of the beach, make sure to check your local flood maps, that you're not buying a house in a flood zone. Also understand your evacuation zones. So if you live on certain sides of certain roads, they will force you to evacuate if you live in those areas. So always check those things when you're moving to this area.
Yeah.
But hurricanes in general are not as bad as many people make them out to be. The Weather Channel makes their money on fear. So remember that when you're buying a house.
Yeah, so guys, we're in no way downplaying hurricanes. They are dangerous. They are unsafe. People do die from them. It is something very, very serious. And we advise everyone to take all the precautions. And at the same time, it's pretty much become a way of life for us.
Yes.
Now, I will throw this out here. I recently heard this. I liked it a lot. While there are hurricanes that are forecast toward our area, we end up on the better side of them generally. I was talking to John just a minute ago, and he was saying the last hurricane that really hit our area was back in 2000?
Somewhere around there.
2005, 2003, something like that. What was it, Hurricane Floyd?
Hurricane Floyd. And we've had several glancing blows from hurricanes, and they have caused some destruction. Things that we've had to look and spend a lot of time fixing. But in general, I would say that most hurricanes, as Brandon has said, are glancing blows that while they do cause destruction, while things do happen, and there is a possibility for death and injury, if you do take the correct precautions and you listen to our local news channels who have ridden these storms out on multiple occasions, listen to our locals, there's hurricane classes all up and down the beach that you can attend that will help you get prepared. You're going to be just fine.
No, and I will, I'll go so far to throw this out here just to give a plug. I do recall your dad talking about freezing water bags and putting them in the freezer. Let's give a little mini hurricane prep class.
Well, one of the things that I would always challenge you to do is pay attention to the local weather people. They're very knowledgeable. They have been in these areas for a long time and they know what they're talking about. So the number one thing you can do by paying attention to them is get a real idea of what this storm is going to do. Number two, make sure you're prepared beyond a 24 pack of water. You need to be prepared. You need to make sure that you have the necessary items. And one of our last big hurricanes, I'm pretty sure it was in Hurricane Matthew, Horry Electric reported that I think it was 15 of their 20 substations that power our county got knocked out and completely blocked. They couldn't even get to them. So make sure you have the ability to provide power to your home, because if you lose power to your refrigerator, you lose everything in it. But one of the ways you can combat that is what Brandon just said. Take some bags, regular freezer bags, put water in them, freeze them prior to the storm and leave them in there, and basically your freezer becomes a cooler.
That's super cool. There's easy and practical things, guys, that you can do to make sure that you're in the best possible position when a hurricane comes. Now, I will go so far to say this, John, you talked about flood zones. A solid and professional real estate agent, like a Cana Group agent right here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, our team will help you identify any kind of flood zone or flooding that your house would experience, or if it was in a flood zone or anything like that. We should be able to answer any and all of those questions for you. So if you're uncomfortable with living in an area that might have flooding or be near a flood zone, just have a simple and easy conversation with us and we'll help you navigate that. All right, it looks like our next reason why you do not want to move to Pawleys Island and Murrels Inlet is crowding. Now, while that might sound silly again, our economy here runs primarily, I feel like, off of tourism. And we have a ton of people that visit here as we've mentioned. So let's talk about wait times at attractions and restaurants.
Yeah, one of the things that Brandon mentioned earlier was the 20 million people that can visit here within a day's drive. Well, that means there's going to be a lot of crowds that come into these restaurants. Yes, there are a ton of restaurants, and one of the things I've heard from many people moving here is they're just completely in shock of the amount of restaurants that we have available.
How many restaurants do we have?
Oh, it's not even able to be numbered. And when you look at them all, it's like, oh man, there's so many places to eat, and that is true. But then pack all the people that come into those restaurants, and it's very difficult sometimes to find a place to eat and to park.
45-minute waits or more,
Yes, so always, if a restaurant has call-ahead seating, take advantage.
Please.
If they have an app that you can pre-register your group, take advantage. Do whatever you can, because you're going to need to know where you're going when you come here.
All right, moving right along, we're going to talk about why you shouldn't move here due to the limited healthcare options. So as you know, well, you might not know, but our market has 4 hospital systems. So we do service a lot of people's needs when it comes to the medical community. Now, we do have top flight medical services just, probably about an hour and a half up the road from Pawleys Island, right in Charleston, South Carolina at MUSC. So if we don't have something that you need here, maybe some specialized care or something like that, you are only in the Pawleys Island Murrels Inlet area, just about an hour and a half away. Now, I will say that they are ramping up medical here like it's going out of style. We have baby boomers retiring here, and medical is something that we definitely need in our market, and that we are seeing that they are meeting that response.
Yeah, and as Brandon said, with the multiple hospital systems, one of those things that those hospitals have realized is the need for primary care physicians. That has waned in past years as some of our primary care physicians that have been here for years have retired. And so they have made it a concerted effort to try and increase those throughout the area. One thing I would say, along with, I'm sure that Brandon would echo, if you need specialized care, check the hospital systems out before you move here and see if they offer what you need to be taken care of. While we do see our primary care physicians are increasing and our hospital systems have gotten way better, some of the supporting systems are still growing in this area, such as dentists, ophthalmologists, dermatologists, all of those things. Those are having to catch up with the amount of people that have moved here in the past few years.
Yeah.
So we are getting better and things are increasing, but you still need to make sure that you have some of that stuff lined up prior to moving.
So again, this all comes back to hiring a solid and professional Cana Group real estate agent. And the reason why I say that is because all these things might be things that you need to check off on a list as you're planning to relocate here. So simply have that conversation with us. Give us a call, send us an email, shoot us a text message, or hop on a live Zoom conference call. Again, all in that description below, so that we can help you make a smooth move to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It's super easy for us to, do a little bit of local research, ask a few questions, get the answers that you need, so that way you don't have to put that time in, and we can take any kind of stress, and just really make it a simple and easy transition for you. We very well may have the specialized doctor that you need here in our market, or the specialized treatment, or have options available that would meet and satisfy exactly what you're looking for. And it's just simply a phone call away, an email away, a text message away to the right agent to help get you that information. All right, moving right along to our next reason why you don't want to move to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, specifically Pawleys Island, Murrels Inlet, are the limited educational opportunities. Now, let's just backtrack for a minute. I know I said that it's limited educational opportunities. We have to ask ourselves, why? Why do we have limited educational opportunities? Well, we have so many people that are moving here to our market, AKA probably why you're watching this video, that, it's lagging behind us catching up to all the growth that our area is experiencing. So, if that had to be a reason why we're lagging behind, I feel like that's a pretty good reason. And it's also a pretty good reason why you might want to consider moving here, because why are all these people moving here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyways, so let's dive a little bit deeper into that limited education opportunities.
Well, exactly. When you look at the south end of the beach, especially in the Pawleys Island and the Murrels Inlet area, there's 2 high schools that service that area of the market.
Yep.
And so that means that you're, with the limited high schools there, with the limited elementary and middle school opportunities there, it means that it is harder. Now, again, as we've just discussed, those are growing and getting more, which is what we like to see. But because we have had such an influx of people in St. James High School, amazing high school for your students.
I think it's one of the top in the state.
Yes,
My daughter graduated from there.
Yes.
She's doing great. She's in her 2nd year at Virginia Tech. She's a business major. Come on.
And our middle schools and our elementary schools, they've begun to see a need for more and more of those, which they've begun to build more and more of those. In Waccamaw High School, you have a very solid school. Not only that, our public education system, but we have a robust private education system as well.
True. Now, before we go on into private, let's talk elementary through high school. Guys, Horry County has the top 5 public schools in the state of South Carolina. So if you're going to move to the Myrtle Beach area and schools are something that are on your radar, in the state of South Carolina, you're going to get the best that we've got to offer here.
That's a pretty good metric.
Yeah.
And as we were just saying, we also have a robust private education system, both in Christian education and non-Christian education in private schools.
Come on.
So all of those options are available and open to you in both the Pawleys Island and southern Horry County Murrels Inlet area, which is very good. And if they're not right in those areas, they're within 15 minutes of driving time from those areas, which makes it very accessible for your child to get the education that you desire. So while those opportunities may look limited on paper, they're not as limited as they seem when you get here.
Coming from larger cities, this might be considered, our market might be considered as having limited educational opportunities compared to much larger cities. However, for us, I think it's great. Now, I will go on into, let's talk a little bit about, Horry Georgetown Technical and Coastal Carolina. And, just kind of, exactly that what both of those schools have to offer us.
Yeah, Horry Georgetown Tech is a great technical college that offers many programs and degrees that you can get in 2 years, or your child can get in 2 years, that are directly beneficial to the area that we live in.
That's right.
They offer culinary educations. Hey, we've got more restaurants here than we've almost got people.
It's wild.
They offer technical degrees in electrical and HVAC. They have a great 2-year nursing program, which, hey, as we just talked about, we've got an expanding medical system. What a great way for your son or daughter to get involved in the medical professions. When you jump over to Coastal Carolina, you see a great marine biology program there. So if your child's interested in the ocean, which you would be living on,
come on,
what a better place.
Yeah,
they have a great horticulture program there with golf courses management and all of those things as well. They just launched a few years ago a 4-year nursing degree too. So you have multiple opportunities at the collegiate level to live at the beach and go to school. Better?
Yeah, I will go so far to say about the golf course management, turf management. We have over 90 golf courses here in our market. So, you're either spending your time, I recently heard this, you're either spending your time working or doing leisure. So, what better place, if you are a golfer that's interested in our market at all, then I think Myrtle Beach would be like golf heaven for you. So definitely come and check us out. So CCU, Coastal Carolina University, excellent 4-year school. Horry Georgetown Tech, probably one of the best in the state, guys. So if you're coming to get any of those kinds of trades, you should be able to find that there. All in all, while we may have limited educational opportunities compared to some of our larger cities, we have some very specific and niche educational opportunities that tailor to our market. So if you're looking for a change of pace, a new beginning, or to really branch out and turn a new leaf, then our market might be just the perfect place for you to relocate to. All right, so John, a longtime native, as we've mentioned, is going to walk us through just a little bit of the growth and the development of the south end of the beach, of Pawleys Island and Murrels Inlet, and just how it's grown over time.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember growing up was Murrels Inlet had 2 stoplights. That was it, and no traffic, especially during the off season. You could go anywhere quickly. Unfortunately, as the area has grown, and unfortunately and fortunately, as the area has grown, it has brought in several new businesses, several new opportunities, and we've seen it go from a sleepy seafood restaurant town where you came to get your crabs or your oysters or your lobster to really into what it is today, which is tons of restaurants, tons of identity, tons of culture that has begun to explode around our area.
Speaking of culture, isn't Murrels Inlet, is it Murrels Inlet or is it Pawleys Island is known as the seafood capital of the world or something?
Murrels Inlet, with Nance's restaurant and all of the oyster beds that they have access to. You can go there just about any time of the year and get all the oysters that you want. And we've seen that in Pawleys Island too. Pawleys Island was just a sleepy retirement town who had people who came down. They were what we call down here as snowbirds. They would come down during the winter and spend their winter down here in the better sunshine and the better temperatures, and then they would run back up north for their jobs in the summer. Guys, and that's changed.
You know, and I will say, we get snowbirds, guys, retirees interested in being here when it's not cold, interested in being here during our winter season where it's not as cold as where they're from. And they even go so far as to purchase properties. This is a common thing I see, or especially I've been getting questions about it, or I get questions about it, is, you know, they will look to buy a property, they'll rent it out during the summer months, and then they'll turn right around, they'll stay in it during the winter, they'll let someone else cash flow and pay for that property for them, Lord willing. And then, you know, they've got an investment that, you know, 5 or 10 years up the road, they're interested in retiring and moving into. So this might be a great opportunity for you snowbirds that are looking to move to our market to purchase an investment property that you later on turn into a retirement property.
Yeah, and as we've seen with Airbnb and the rise of the popularity in VRBO and people coming down, what a great way to partner with a good salesman and find what you're looking for to maybe in 10 years, you know, hang your hat up and come down and spend the rest of your days at the beach.
Absolutely. So you were saying about Murrels Inlet, you know, how it's grown. It was sleepy. It was a little, you know, southern town. And then now all of a sudden, you know, we've blown up. Kind of finish walking us through that history.
Yeah, you know, as Myrtle Beach in general has grown, people have looked for areas to live outside of the city limits of Myrtle Beach, and that has happened in Murrels Inlet, Garden City, Pawleys Island, all of those southern communities down there.
Surfside Beach.
And we've seen a huge explosion of home building in that area, of people moving in, of coming in, and it's changed the dynamic. Both some good, some bad, but all of it for the better, because we've seen an explosion in businesses, in restaurants, in the ability of us to have access to good medical care. When I was growing up, there was no hospital in Murrels Inlet, so your only options were Georgetown Hospital, which was about 30 minutes south of you, or Grand Strand Hospital, which was about 30 to 40 minutes north of you.
And now what's happening?
And now we have a hospital, a full-service hospital, literally right out in my parents' backyard almost.
Yep.
That's you know, a hop, skip, and a jump away from our house, which has been amazing. We've seen the explosion down there of medical care. So all of that stuff has been a positive step forward for what we've seen in the area, and we've really seen Murrels Inlet and Pawleys Island both benefit from the mass amounts of people that have come down in these areas for businesses and for housing opportunities.
Now, real quick, because you stuck around until the end of the video, we're going to give you a quick speed talk through as you live on an island.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know this, but the Intercoastal Waterway did not used to cut us off from the mainland. Actually, my father-in-law, he saw the Intercoastal as a little boy being blasted through Horry County as the county began to prepare to connect the two bays, both at the north end and at the south end in Georgetown. So literally there was at one point 3 to 4 ways off of this island. So when we were talking about hurricanes and you look at that, the mass people that were trying to get out, well, that's expanded greatly now in a lot of ways. There's many more ways to get off of the island, as we call it. So that's something that a lot of people don't realize when they move here.
And now define the island.
Well, the Intercoastal Waterway literally, when they blasted it in from the Little River Bay to the Georgetown Winyah Bay, they literally cut us off from the mainland. They blasted a river right through the ground and basically turned everything from Pawleys Island all the way up to North Myrtle Beach into an island. You're on an island, you don't realize it, but you are. You're not connected to the mainland. So it's an interesting topic.
All right, so as far as things that people don't know unless you're a local, number 2.
Market Commons, which you're going to hear a lot about when you come here, in the early 90s was an Army air base. They had several planes stationed out there. We housed an A-10 wing for several years. And as a local pastor, one of the things that happened, we had a lot of people that came to our church who worked on the air base, and still have several of them that attend today. A lot of people don't realize that, and several of the structures, actually Horry Georgetown Tech College that we were talking about, was an Army air base facility. There's several, the buildings still out there that are still standing Army air base buildings. And even some of the features of the airport that you might fly into at some point, or out of, those are original Army Air Base buildings. So it's been a great way to see that territory and that land go from, strictly for Air Force and Army capabilities over into what it has become today as Market Commons.
Now, I will throw out here, guys, we do have several videos on the Market Common area. Definitely want to check those out. I do a nice, cool walking tour where I visit some restaurants over there. Market Commons is perhaps one of our most desirable areas to live in. It is pretty much like a city within a city. Tons of shopping, tons of restaurants, lots of fun things to do out there. There's a $1.3 million playground called Savannah's Playground out that way. There's walking trails. There is just so much to do out that way. And the area in general really encourages a non-sedentary lifestyle. I think it's easy to say that people probably bike ride to the beach from there, so it's in a real great location. Check out some of our videos on what does 300,000 get in Market Common, what does 400 to 500,000 get in Market Common, and then even check out our really cool one inside a $790,000 Market Common home.